I used to think loving a dog was simple. Feed them, bathe them, pet them, repeat. That's all it took, at least that's what I believed. But love doesn't protect a body that's quietly breaking down from our well-meaning mistakes. I learned that the hard way. When my vet laid a test result on the table and said, in the gentlest voice possible, if you keep feeding him like this, his stomach won't hold out much longer. That was the day I realized sometimes what kills a dog isn't disease. It's devotion without knowledge. For years, I fed him only once a day. Morning was always rushed. So I saved his meal for the evening. Proud of my efficiency. He always seemed fine, or so I thought. What I didn't know was that a dog's stomach isn't built for those long, empty stretches. When the stomach stays empty, Otseed keeps churning, waiting for food that never comes. A vet at UCLA once told me, a dog's gastric acid is like battery fluid if there's nothing to digest. It eats the stomach itself. I thought she was exaggerating until I saw the data 10,000 dogs tracked. And those fed only once a day had 73% higher rates of gastric torsion, a twisted stomach that kills within hours. Looking back, the signs were there. He'd lick the floor obsessively, chew grass in the yard, burp after naps. I thought it was quirky. It was acid reflux. A vet explained. When the stomach stays empty too long, acid rises up the throat. It burns, so they eat grass to soothe it. The fix was almost laughably simple. Divide his meals in 2, morning and night. Within weeks, the licking stopped. The grass eating stopped. His energy returned, and one evening, when he looked up after dinner with that soft, grateful expression, I swear his eyes said, "Thank you for finally understanding." The second mistake seemed harmless, feeding from a bowl. Like everyone else, I'd scoop kibble, pour it into his plastic dish, set it down, and watch him finish in 90 seconds flat. It felt normal. Then, one day, a vet asked, "Do you realize your dog is depressed?" I laughed. Depressed. He runs around all the time. The vet shook her head. Running isn't the same as thriving. For dogs, eating isn't just refueling, it's instinct. In the wild, they'd spend 6 to 8 hours hunting, searching, thinking. You give him everything in under 2 minutes? I imagined how that would feel for a human if your whole day's work was done before you even started it. A study at Yale confirmed it. Dogs fed exclusively from bowls show brain activity similar to humans with clinical depression. Their stress hormone, cortisol, spikes 40% higher. It hit me like a brick. Every time I filled that bowl, I was trading his mental health for my convenience. So I changed. I started scattering his kibble in the yard, hiding bits in towels, stuffing them in puzzle toys. I watched him sniff, paw, die, tail wagging like it hadn't in months. That small ritual of the hunt became his favorite time of day. He'd sleep deeply afterward. Peacefully. A professor at Oxford once said, 5 minutes of foraging activates a dog's brain like an hour of training. Those 5 minutes brought back a spark I didn't realize I'd extinguished. The third mistake was born from love, the kind that spoils. I used to give him just a little more. A half scoop here, a handful there. Because how could you say no to that face? But love, when measured in calories, turns heavy. A vet from Cornell once told me, every extra pound on a 50-pound dog is like 10 pounds on a human. That means just 5 extra pounds on my dog was like carrying 50 on his joints and lungs. I'd watched him hesitate at the stairs, thinking age was catching up. In truth, it was me. The Association for Pet Obesity Prevention reports that 59% of dogs in America are overweight, and most owners don't realize it. A 15-year study at Cornell showed that dogs fed precisely measured portions lived nearly 3 years longer than their overfed siblings. 3 years. In a dog's short life, that's an entire lifetime gained or lost. Decided by a measuring cup. Now I use one religiously, a simple $6 cup that feels like a promise. Each scoop is measured, deliberate, loving. My vet once said, "Precision is the purest form of care." I believe that now, because when I watch him run again light, free, the way he used to, I know every careful scoop adds a heartbeat, a sunrise, another walk together. I used to think caring for a dog was instinct. Now I know instinct means nothing without understanding. These early mistakes, feeding once a day, rushing meals, overfilling the bowl, were never acts of cruelty. They were acts of ignorance. Dogs don't complain. They endure. They suffer silently. Until one day, they simply stop eating, or walking, or wagging that tail that used to greet you at the door. If someone asked me now what keeps a dog healthy, I wouldn't say expensive food or fancy supplements. I'd say, know how their stomach works, know how their mind hungers for play, and know that sometimes less food and more attention is the greater love, because behind every wag, every bright pair of eyes, is a body that trusts you completely to keep it safe, and a heart that never doubts you will. It happened on an ordinary afternoon. I'd just finished feeding my German Shepherd his usual meal. Same time, same bowl, and decided to take him for a walk. He loved walks more than anything. And I thought I was being kind. But halfway down the street, he stopped. His belly looked bloated. His breathing short. Within minutes, he began to pace, drool, and try to vomit, but nothing came out. Panic clawed at my chest as I carried him, trembling, to the car. At the clinic, the vet didn't waste a second. "It's gastric dilatation volvulus," she said, her voice firm but heavy. I had no idea what that meant. Then she explained the food and gas in his stomach had caused it to flip, trapping air, blood, and pain inside. "If you'd arrived an hour later," she said quietly, "he wouldn't have made it." That moment shattered something in me. I had fed him out of love. I had taken him for a walk out of love. And somehow, my love had nearly killed him. Later, the vet told me something that stayed forever, burned into my mind. After eating, your dog's stomach is like a shaken soda can. Move too soon, and it explodes from the inside. Purdue University's veterinary school confirmed that 30% of bloat cases are fatal even with surgery. And the #1 trigger is exercise after meals. She taught me a simple rule that sounds almost too small to matter. Walk first, feed second, and wait at least 30 minutes after eating before any play. That tiny change could be the difference between a 10-year life and a tragedy that ends in hours. It's humbling how love without knowledge can turn so dangerous. Another quiet killer hides in routine, the food that never changes. For years, I proudly told people I'd found the perfect kibble. I bought it in bulk, fed it religiously, never questioned it. It felt safe, predictable. Then one day, a vet nutritionist looked at me and said, "Would you feed a newborn the same meal as a retired athlete dogs?" Like people, change with time. Puppies are tiny furnaces burning calories to build bones and muscle, needing almost 30% protein and precise calcium levels. Feed them adult food too early, and their skeleton grows unevenly. Their joints begin to break down long before old age. On the other end of life, senior dogs slow down. Their metabolism drops 20% after the age of 7. But we keep giving them the same food, the same portions. Those extra calories quietly turn into fat around the heart, the liver, the joints. Ohio State's veterinary program found that dogs switched to age-appropriate diets lived almost 2 years longer on average. That day, I went home and poured the kibble into a jar. It looked harmless. The same crunch, the same smell. But now I saw it differently, like a well-meant poison. Wrong. Not in quality, but in timing. My shepherd had turned gray around the muzzle. He needed fewer calories and more fiber, fewer fats and more antioxidants. I changed his food slowly. Over 2 weeks, watching his eyes brighten, his energy return. It was as if his body had been waiting for me to catch up to his age. It's strange, isn't it? We celebrate our dogs' birthdays, take photos, buy treats, but we rarely stop to ask if their food should change too. Love is loud on social media, but real love happens quietly, in the details of nutrition and patience. The third mistake in this chapter of my awakening was the hardest to face, trusting a pretty label more than biology. I used to grab whatever brand looked the healthiest, with glossy photos of roasted chicken and golden retrievers smiling under bright blue skies. I didn't read the ingredients because I didn't know how. The first ingredient said, meat byproduct, and that sounded fine to me, until a vet showed me what it really meant: beaks, feathers, hooves, even tumor tissue leftovers from animals deemed unfit for human food. Tufts University ran a study that still makes my stomach turn. 40% of commercial dog foods tested contain traces of euthanized animal DNA. The FDA allows it under rendered animal product. I remember standing in my kitchen, bag in hand, feeling betrayed, not by the companies, but by my own ignorance. The vet taught me how to read labels like a scientist. Look for named meats: chicken, turkey, salmon. Avoid poultry meal or meat byproduct. Check the first 5 ingredients if you see corn, wheat, or soy. You're not buying nutrition, you're buying filler. Skip anything with artificial preservatives like BHA or BHT. They're banned in human food in Europe for a reason. One study from UC Davis proved that dogs on high-quality protein diets lived 19% longer and had 50% fewer vet visits. I remember her last words that day: you don't need to buy the most expensive food. You just need to buy the most honest one. After that, I stopped treating feeding as a chore and started treating it as medicine. I no longer pour blindly from the bag. I read, I measure. I think. I time his walks. I adjust his portions. I choose food that suits his age and his body, not my convenience. I once thought love was about giving. Now I know it's also about withholding, about saying no to the walk right after dinner. No to the food that's wrong for his age. No to the labels that lie in bright colors, because dogs don't understand ingredients or calories. They only understand trust. They trust us to get it right. And when we finally do, when we align our affection with science, we're not just keeping them alive longer, we're keeping their lives better. That's what I remind myself every evening, when I feed him and wait before we walk, watching the sunset glow on his fur. Love is not just warm, it's wise. There's something almost sacred about watching a dog eat. The small crunch of kibble, the pause to look up at you, the trust in every swallow. It's one of those quiet miracles of companionship. But I used to mistake routine for care. I fed him the same dry food, day after day, because it was labeled complete and balanced. Then, one evening, While chopping vegetables, I dropped a bit of steamed carrot, and he devoured it like he'd tasted sunshine. That moment changed everything. I started reading veterinary journals instead of marketing labels. What I found shocked me. Kibble, even premium brands, is cooked at over 400 degrees Fahrenheit, destroying more than half of the vitamins and amino acids dogs need. It's not poison, it's just lifeless. A decade-long Purdue study revealed that dogs who ate fresh vegetables a few times a week had a 90% lower risk of bladder cancer. 90. It made me wonder how many diseases we quietly invite into their lives out of convenience. So, I learned to cook for him, not leftovers from my plate, but balanced meals designed for dogs. 40% lean protein, 50% vegetables and complex carbs, 10% healthy fats. I added calcium, fish oil, and patience. The first week, his coat changed. It glowed. By the second, he moved like he'd shed invisible weight. I realized then that food doesn't just feed the body, it fuels the soul. But love also needs restraint. Once, I almost lost him to a harmless table scrap, a piece of chicken in garlic butter. Within hours, he was vomiting, weak, trembling. The vet said it was onion toxicity. The compounds had begun destroying his red blood cells. I sat beside him all night, terrified by the fragility of something I'd taken for granted. That night became a rule. If it wasn't made for a dog, it doesn't belong in a dog. Grapes, chocolate, sugar-free gum, all of them beautiful to us, lethal to them. Every time I resist those pleading eyes under the dinner table, I remind myself love isn't indulgence. It's protection. Now, when I prepare his meals, it feels like prayer, steady hands, mindful heart, gratitude for another day together. Because in every bowl I serve him, I'm not just giving food, I'm giving time. More mornings, more walks, more sunsets we'll share before the world goes quiet. For the longest time, I thought my dog's silence meant everything was fine. He couldn't complain. So I assumed there was nothing wrong. But the truth is, dogs speak constantly through the way they scratch, lick, refuse food, or stare into space with that quiet discomfort we mistake for calm. It took me years, and one sleepless night beside a vomiting dog, to finally hear what his body had been trying to say all along. It started when I switched foods too quickly. I'd found a new, better brand, and in my eagerness to do right by him, I dumped out the old bag and filled his bowl with the new one. By morning, he had diarrhea, refused to eat, and looked at me with those confused, apologetic eyes, as if he had done something wrong. The vet explained gently, "His gut bacteria don't know what to do. You replaced his whole digestive workforce overnight." I learned then about transition schedules, 7 to 10 days, slowly blending the new with the old, letting the trillions of bacteria inside him adapt in peace. Soon after came the scratching, the endless paw licking, the red ears, the midnight shaking of the head. I tried everything: baths, creams, new collars. Nothing helped. It wasn't until another vet suggested an elimination diet that I found the truth. It wasn't fleas or dust. It was chicken, the one thing I'd fed him every day of his life. For 8 weeks, I cooked duck and sweet potato. Nothing else. Then, like a miracle, the itching stopped. I remember sitting there, watching him sleep, without scratching for the first time in months, and feeling something close to guilt and relief intertwined. It made me realize how easily we confuse habit with health. When a dog licks his paws raw, when he gets ear infections every few weeks, when his breath smells off, those aren't quirks. They're symptoms. They're his language. And every time we ignore them, his body keeps whispering a little louder, until it finally screams. The last thing I learned came from something so simple. I'd always overlooked it, his water bowl. I used to fill it in the morning and forget about it until the next day. Then one afternoon, my vet showed me an image from her lab bacteria colonies growing in a dog's water dish after 12 hours. E. coli. Salmonella. Words that sound like warnings in another language. She told me, they double every 20 minutes. You wouldn't drink from that glass. Why should he? Now I wash the bowl daily. Refill it twice a day. And keep an extra one in another room. It feels small. Almost silly. But every drop of clean water is a promise, a way of saying, I see you. I'm listening. These lessons taught me that dogs don't hide pain. They endure it. Waiting for us to notice. Their silence isn't trust. It's survival. And the greatest act of love we can offer isn't affection or toys, but awareness. The willingness to see the invisible signs, to hear the language of small changes, to remember that behind every wagging tail is a fragile, loyal body. Depending on us to understand what it cannot say, there's a quiet rhythm to a dog's life, a heartbeat woven between meals, naps, and the soft padding of paws across the floor. I used to think I understood it, but it wasn't until I learned to slow down, to time his meals, to match his pace, that I realized love isn't about doing more for them. It's about doing right by them. For years, I used to feed him right before bed. It felt comforting he'd eat, curl up beside me, and we'd both drift into sleep. But the nights grew restless. He'd wake, licking his lips, swallowing hard, pacing in the dark. I thought it was anxiety. The vet said it was acid reflux. When a dog lies flat right after eating, gravity can't keep stomach acid down. It rises into the throat, burning silently while they sleep. Studies in Sweden found that dogs fed within 2 hours of bedtime were 3 times more likely to experience nighttime regurgitation and restlessness. It broke my heart to know he'd been suffering while I dreamed beside him. Now, his last meal comes 3 hours before bed, and the nights are calm again. He snores softly, his breathing deep and steady. The room filled with peace I didn't know was missing. Then there was the matter of energy, the delicate balance between what goes in and what gets spent. For the longest time, I trusted the numbers printed on the food bag, 3 cups for a 60-pound dog. I never asked whether those cups were meant for an athlete or a couch potato. Turns out, they're for neither. Every dog burns energy differently. A herding dog working on a farm might need twice as much food as a bulldog who naps 20 hours a day. My vet taught me to watch the ribs, not the label. If I could feel them easily but not see them, the balance was right. That simple habit saved me from years of guessing and saved him from carrying the extra weight of my carelessness. And then, the last lesson came wrapped in something deceptively small: the speed of eating. My dog inhaled his food, barely breathing between bites. I used to laugh. It looked like joy. But one day, a vet told me, that's not happiness. That's danger. Eating too fast means swallowing air. And air in a dog's stomach can twist it into a deadly knot. It's called bloat. And it kills thousands of dogs each year. The fixed simplicity itself. I placed a tennis ball in his bowl, forcing him to eat around it. Do pause. What used to take 30 seconds now takes 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That could mean 5 more years. These days, when I watch him eat slowly, walk safely after his meal, drink clean water, and sleep without pain, I realize something profound. A dog's life is not measured in years, but in comfort. Every heartbeat we protect, every meal we give thoughtfully, every symptom we catch early, it all becomes time we steal back from death. So, when I scoop his food and measure it carefully, when I whisper not yet after dinner before our walk, when I wash his bowl and refill it with clean water, it's not routine anymore. It's love made visible, steady, ordinary, scientific, and sacred, because to love a dog is to learn its rhythm, to feed it not just with food, but with time, to listen not only when it barks, but when it's silent, and to promise every single day, in all the quiet ways that matter most, I will make your life a little longer, a little lighter, and filled with the peace you give me so freely.